Hey everybody, this video brings us out to Lansdale, Pennsylvania. And the reason why we are in Lansdale, Pennsylvania today is because we are here at the Lansdale Cemetery in recognition and appreciation to the founding members of the Lansdale Cemetery Board of Directors for their service to maintaining and improving this peaceful resting place. That's awesome. So they actually are doing some maintaining and improving right now here. They're doing some yard work, of course, and the reason why they're doing some yard work and the reason why they're landscaping and mowing the lawn and whatnot right now is because we're here filming, and that's just how it goes. Every time I show up somewhere, we're always doing yard work. It's just the way it goes. But the reason why we're out here today is to do a bit of a follow-up, if you will, to a video I did last week on James Bond. You may remember we went to the grave of the original James Bond, the man that Ian Fleming actually named his iconic spy character after. He's buried maybe only 15 or so minutes away from here. So if you're a big fan of James Bond and you want to do a little bit of a James Bond tour, if you will, this area is definitely a bit of a mecca for that, because we've got the original James Bond buried only maybe like 15 minutes away in a different cemetery out in Ambler, Pennsylvania. And then here in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, we've got another famous James Bond buried here that we're going to take a look at today, if the Mausoleum is open, and I'm hoping it is. Otherwise, this video is going to end very quickly. So when most people think of the original James Bond, their mind immediately goes to Sean Connery and Dr. No. And yes, that is true. If you're thinking about the cinematic movie series of James Bond films, the first person to ever play James Bond in that series was indeed Sean Connery. But he was not the first person to ever actually play James Bond. That would happen in 1954. There was a TV series, a mystery anthology TV series called Climax, and they were the first person to ever do an adaptation of Ian Fleming's classic spy work. They did an adaptation of Casino Royale, and there was a man who had to play James Bond in that anthology series on that TV show. And he is buried right here in Lansdale, Pennsylvania at the Lansdale Cemetery, and we're going to take a look at that today. So again, Sean Connery, not the first person to ever play James Bond. The man who did is buried right over here. So from what I was reading, the portrayal of James Bond on this show was done a little bit weird, if you will. He was an American agent, not a British agent. It was just done very strange because nobody really knew who James Bond was at this point. There were some books and people had read the books, of course, but James Bond did not really come into the forefront, and people did not really just majorly start reading the book until John F. Kennedy said that one of his top 10 favorite books of all time was From Russia with Love. And at that point, people were like, well, if JFK loves these books, I have to start reading them. And that book became very popular, and the other James Bond books became popular, and then James Bond movies started happening. But up until then, people did not really know who James Bond was. So only some people who had read the books really knew who James Bond was, but for the most part, he wasn't in the forefront of pop culture like he is today. So he was portrayed a little bit different in that TV show. But also, supposedly, from what I heard, it was sort of done as like a pilot, almost like a James Bond movie. They were thinking about doing this anthology TV episode and kind of turning that into a bit of a pilot for the possibility of a movie. Unfortunately, the man we're going to see today did not end up continuing to play that role. That would then again go to Sean Connery 8 years later in Dr. No. But still, this man here was kind of the guy who paved the way, if you will, for James Bond on the big screen. Something else that should be noted is that Peter Lorre played the villain in this episode of Climax, meaning Peter Lorre was the first person to ever play a James Bond villain. How amazing does that sound? I have to see this episode, and I can. Though for a while, you couldn't. It was actually lost at time. They thought this episode would never resurface. It would never be seen again. But in 1980, a copy did resurface, and now it's a bonus feature on the Casino Royale movie adaptation DVD and Blu-ray. So if you do have a copy of Casino Royale on DVD or on Blu-ray, pop it in, go to the bonus features, and you can actually watch this episode of Climax. I haven't seen it yet, but as soon as I get home, I'm watching it. I feel like I should have done my homework a little bit better and maybe actually watched that episode before I came out here, but I didn't realize it was actually on the DVDs and Blu-rays as a bonus feature until just a couple minutes ago when I was looking up just a little bit more research on the on the episode and found out that, again, it was lost to time, but then found in 1980 and then put as a bonus feature on the DVD and Blu-ray copy of the movie adaptation of Casino Royale, which is a fantastic movie. I've seen it, I do own it, but man, I can't wait to get home and actually watch this episode. The first time James Bond ever played by anybody on the screen, and Peter Lorre as the villain just sounds like just amazing. So the man we're actually out here to see, the first person to ever play James Bond on the screen, is actor Barry Nelson, born Robert Nelson or Robert Nielsen. I'm not entirely sure how to correctly pronounce his original name, but he is buried here in this mausoleum under his original name, which is an awesome looking mausoleum. Kind of looks like a castle. Though unfortunately, and I was afraid of this, we're not going to be able to get inside. It is locked. The doors to the mausoleum are locked, and we cannot get inside here, which is something that I knew would be a possibility. I kind of figured maybe the mausoleum would not be open to the public, and that is the case. But man, listen to that echo. Bond. James Bond. If something talks back to me, I'm running. Actually, you know what? No, if Barry wants to talk back to me, I'll stick around. I'll have a conversation with him, honestly. So even though it may seem like I'm always complaining about groundskeepers because they always happen to be doing their groundskeeping at the same exact time I'm filming somewhere, I don't actually have anything wrong with them. In fact, I think they're amazing people, and I appreciate the work they do because they keep places like this looking beautiful. And the cemetery does look beautiful. And I just got done talking to the groundskeeper here, Bob, who did just finish up. He did just leave, and he was giving me a little bit of a history lesson on the cemetery, which was really nice of him. And he was telling me that this mausoleum used to be open to the public. There was a point where anybody could just come out here during normal operational hours of the cemetery and just walk directly into the mausoleum. But now you can no longer do that. And he was telling me the reason is because of those darn, although he did not use the word darn, but those darn drug addicts who used to come out here and apparently steal things like the grating that used to be right down here. You can see there's just a hole in the wall, but apparently at one point there was some brass grating there, just like it is up top here. But those darn druggies came out here and they stole them to I guess sell the brass, unfortunately. And because of that, they had to actually shut down the mausoleum to the public. You can still come out here with an appointment and get inside, which is something I kind of figured I'd probably need to do. So with an appointment, you can actually get inside here. And also supposedly during Halloween, they open this up and do some kind of like walkthrough as well, which is something I definitely want to check out. Thankfully, Bob did give me the number of the lady who runs the mausoleum. So not today, because unfortunately she's not in the office, but at some point I'm gonna have to give her a call, and we're gonna have to come back out here and get inside there. Well, all right, guys, I tried. I'm not gonna say this was a fail. I'll say this was a semi-fail, a semi-success, because at least I was able to give you guys a history lesson on actor Barry Nelson, the man who first played James Bond in that episode of Climax where they did the adaptation of Casino Royale. The first person to ever play James Bond on the screen, preceding Sean Connery by 8 years, is buried right here in Lansdale, Pennsylvania at the Lansdale Cemetery. Actor Barry Nelson buried right inside here. Though unfortunately, again, we cannot actually get inside the mausoleum today. But I did get the contact number of the lady who runs this, so at some point we are gonna get inside here. Either I'm gonna contact her and she's gonna bring us inside here, or maybe I'll just wait a couple of weeks until Halloween when they open this up to the public, and then we'll go inside. Either way, I've gotta bring you guys back out here because we've gotta see that grave. All right, guys, so since we cannot actually get into the mausoleum and see the actual grave of actor Barry Nelson, we are gonna cut this video a little short, which is definitely a shame. I really did wanna take you guys in here to see the actual grave inside the mausoleum, to see where Barry Nelson was buried. But unfortunately, that will not be happening today. Again, I kind of figured this might be a possibility. I knew that coming out here was gonna be a bit of a long shot. I knew the mausoleum may very well be closed because a lot of mausoleums, unfortunately, because of horrible people ruining it for everybody, are closed. So again, I kind of knew we probably, possibly, maybe would not be able to get inside here today, and sadly, we cannot. But eventually, we will get inside there. But all right, guys, with that, we are done. So if you guys have ever actually seen that episode of Climax where Barry Nelson first played James Bond on the screen, and Peter Lorre was the first person to ever play a James Bond villain on the screen. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about that adaptation of Ian Fleming's Casino Royale. I hear it's pretty weird, but I definitely want to check it out. I do have it on Blu-ray at home, so I will be watching that. And if you have seen it, again, comments down below. What did you think of that? But all right, guys, so that's going to do it from the amazing, beautiful Lansdale Cemetery here in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, in the Mausoleum where Barry Nelson, first person to ever play James Bond, is buried. All right, guys, so as always, thank you all so much for checking out this video. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check down below for links to Patreon. If you guys do become a patron, I will send you a postcard every single month from the road. Also check down below for a link to Spreadshirt where you can grab yourself retro Rest Stop t-shirts. Proceeds both from Spreadshirt and from Patreon do help support the show. They keep the show going, so I really do appreciate that. And if you guys watch this video all the way until the very end, let's see, what should today's hashtag be? Let's do, I don't know, let's just do hashtag James Bond fail. Even though I don't say this video was a complete fail, let's just do it. James Bond fail, hashtag James Bond fail. If you guys watch this video all the way until the very end. But all right, guys, like I said, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you do hit that subscribe button or you are subscribed, then I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.